Once upon a time, football fields felt alive whenever Brazil played, as if colors were running freely across the grass, and the rhythm of Jogo Bonito forced the entire world to surrender in admiration. But time has not been kind to that romantic image, because in recent years Brazil became a nation haunted by failures, heartbreaks, painful knockouts, and unanswered questions. And across millions of voices, one single doubt echoed louder than anything else. Can Brazil ever return to being Brazil again? Then, almost quietly, everything began to change with the arrival of a man who does not shout revolutions, does not chase headlines, and does not believe in chaos as a solution. A man widely regarded as one of the most mature, calm-headed, and disciplined coaches in football history. Carlo Ancelotti, who did not walk into Brazil promising miracles or instant glory, but instead stepped in like a master craftsman tasked with rebuilding a cracked empire brick by brick. Because when Brazil were confused, disorganized, emotionally fragile, and lost in their own identity, Ancelotti made his philosophy clear from day one by saying that for Brazil to return, Brazil must first rediscover itself, but with greater maturity. And from that moment, his work began not with dramatic changes, but with subtle adjustments that slowly reshaped the soul of the team. Because dribbling, flair, creativity, and individual magic have always lived in Brazilian blood. And Ancelotti never tried to erase that DNA. Instead, he added what Brazil had been missing the most for years: structure, composure, discipline, and intelligent game management. And under his guidance, Brazil no longer rushes blindly into attacks or collapses under pressure, because they now read the rhythm of the match, understand when to slow down, when to accelerate, and strike precisely at the right moment and in the right spaces, which marks a radical shift from the emotional football that once defined both their beauty and their downfall. The transformation becomes even clearer when looking at players like Vinicius Jr, Rodrigo, and Endrick, footballers Ancelotti personally nurtured and developed during his time at Real Madrid, who now stand before him wearing the national jersey, carrying raw talent that was never in doubt, but whose biggest evolution under Ancelotti has been learning decision-making, positional discipline, and timing, because in every training session he repeats the same message: speed and skill are gifts, but knowing when to use them is intelligence. And this idea of patience and footballing wisdom is something Brazilian football historically struggled to prioritize, as flair often overshadowed balance. Yet under Ancelotti, those young stars are no longer just entertainers. They are thinkers on the pitch. Perhaps the most dramatic change, however, has come in midfield, an area that once cost Brazil dearly in major tournaments, where lack of control and defensive awareness repeatedly led to elimination. But today, the midfield is the brain of this new Brazil, a zone of command rather than chaos, with Bruno Guimaraes operating as the engine who dictates tempo and transitions, João Gomes acting as the tireless warrior who wins duels and protects space, and Lucas Paqueta functioning as the creative weapon who connects imagination with execution. And suddenly Brazil's midfield is no longer just beautiful to watch. It is stable, calculated, and tactically intelligent, capable of slowing down elite opponents or accelerating when the opportunity appears. The defensive line reflects the same philosophy, because while Brazil's attack remains dangerous and unpredictable, the calmness at the back is what truly defines Ancelotti's influence, as players like Marquinhos and Éder Militão are organized not merely as defenders, but as the first architects of build-up play, controlling rhythm from deep positions, reducing panic under pressure, and ensuring the team never loses its structural balance, which is why this Brazil looks different even when conceding goals, because unlike past versions that collapsed emotionally after setbacks, this team remains composed, focused, and mentally resilient. Brazil today does not play wild football anymore. They play intelligent football, pressing with awareness rather than impulse, attacking with calculation rather than desperation. And above all, they no longer surrender psychologically when the game turns against them, because the greatest impact of Carlo Ancelotti has been mental rather than tactical, instilling calmness in moments of chaos, belief during adversity, and clarity when pressure peaks, something only a coach with more than 3 decades of elite experience can deliver. A man who understands how to manage moments, emotions, and expectations at the highest level. As the road toward the 2026 World Cup unfolds, Ancelotti is building a Brazil where there is no single superhero expected to save the nation, because the hero is the team, the system is the star, and the structure is the identity. And while this Brazil still dances with the ball like their legendary predecessors, they now dance with a plan, blending pace, flair, and creativity with an added layer of composure that has been absent for far too long, creating a version of the Seleção that is both familiar and frighteningly new. Ancelotti often repeats a simple yet powerful belief that silent work produces the deepest transformations, and that philosophy is unfolding right before the world's eyes, because without noise, without drama, and without arrogance, Brazil are changing, evolving, and sharpening their edge. And as 2026 approaches, the football world should be ready, because the Seleção are coming back, not with loud promises or reckless passion, but quietly, steadily, and dangerously. And this is the new Brazil, Carlo Ancelotti's Brazil, a team preparing not just to compete, but to reclaim its throne with intelligence, maturity, and devastating precision.